Hey guys, this is Mr. Gavilanes, and today I'm going to talk to you about Buddhism. And I am from a kingdom in India, and it started off with the birth of a very young prince whose name was Siddhartha Gautama. You guys can just call him Siddhartha, okay. Uh, Not long after the prince was born, there was this person called an astrologer. Think of him as the person who can see the future using the stars. The astrologer said that if Siddhartha ever left the palace, the royal palace, because Siddhartha was a prince, if he ever left the royal palace, he would become a very poor man. But if he stayed in his palace, then he would be the ruler of his kingdom. He would be a very powerful, influential man. What's going to happen next? So, because of the prophecy that the astrologer gave to Siddhartha's dad, uh, his dad was the king. He made sure that Siddhartha never left the palace. So Siddhartha was forever stuck in his palace, and as much as he had all the riches he could ever ask for, what Siddhartha really wanted was to be free, to go outside, to meet people, to make friends, and to see the world, which I personally find very relatable. I would right now that we're all quarantined, you could say we're all like Siddhartha, right? So Siddhartha finally, at the age of 29, he was older than me when this happened. Siddhartha managed to, because he was no longer this like extremely wealthy yet very isolated and lonely man. Um, so when he left the castle in his travels, he saw a corpse for the first time in his life. That a corpse is a dead body, literally just laying on the street. He saw a monk, and this type of monk, that was a Hindu monk, had forgotten about all earthly pleasures. So he was very focused on his studies and very focused on finding enlightenment. Um, and well, when he met this monk, who was very poor, yet the monk seemed happy. Just that shocked Siddhartha, but also the fact that he saw a corpse just laying somewhere. He also saw a lot of people who were very old, people who were very young and poor, and that he saw death, he saw people in pain, he saw war, he saw so many terrible things. So he decided that he would dedicate his life, Siddhartha would dedicate his life to finding the meaning of life. Remember when we spoke in the first section, in the first couple sessions ago, about religion being about finding the meaning of life, one of those weird existential questions? Well, there we go. This is what Siddhartha is looking for now. So he goes off into this path where he is trying to find happiness and enlightenment. So what Siddhartha did is he studied a lot of Hindu texts, a lot of Hindu wisdom. Remember, we talked about Hinduism. Siddhartha lived in that time when Hinduism was flourishing. And he read a lot of Hindu texts, and he himself became like the monk that he saw out in the streets. Just a normal, rather a poor man in rags that was searching for happiness. And from these Hindu texts and from these monks that he was befriending, he started to concentrate on your thoughts and reflect on life. And what Siddhartha also did was meditation, that is, to sit quietly and contemplate and think about your own thoughts, about your own self and your own life, and to fast, another tenet of Buddhism, which is to not eat for an extended period of time. So what Siddhartha learned while he was doing this was that even though he read all these Hindu texts, he still wasn't, and he started meditating and he was fasting, he still wasn't completely satisfied with the answers that he was getting about the world. So he realized, you know what, the world is like a cycle of suffering and rebirth. So you suffer through the world, you suffer. Why do you suffer? You suffer because you want things, you desire things. So Siddhartha wanted to eat, but he couldn't, and he was thinking about the food and thinking about all these great things that you can do in life. But the process of desiring those things, Siddhartha realized, hold on, the desire of things that I can't have or that I don't have is what's making me eating. And finally, when Siddhartha was age 35, he sat under a tree, and you could say that there is where he found enlightenment. If you guys see the PowerPoints that I made, you can see that Siddhartha, the Buddha, is sitting under the tree with his eyes closed or eyes open, and he is meditating. And after many days of meditating under this tree, uh, he that's when he realized, as I said earlier, that the root of all suffering in the world comes from desire, comes from wanting things. So how do you find happiness? How do you become content? You stop wanting things, and for very long periods of time, until finally you get to that point where you no longer desire things. That is at the core tenet